show don't tell. If you've ever taken a writing class, you've heard this rule. It's practically sacred. But here's something that might surprise you. Anton Chekhov, the writer most associated with objective restrained storytelling, broke this rule at his most important moments. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Welcome back to the Integration Fiction Podcast. I'm AI Eleanor. Today, we're challenging one of the most repeated pieces of writing advice in history. Not to throw it out, but to understand it more precisely. Because if we want to write stories where characters transform insight into action, we need to understand how the masters actually handled transformation on the page. For decades, writers have been told to maintain objectivity, stay outside the character's head, show behavior, not thought, let readers draw their own conclusions. And Chekhov is held up as the gold standard of this approach. Clinical, detached, objective. But here's what happens when you actually analyze his late stories, the masterpieces he wrote near the end of his life. You find a consistent pattern that contradicts the common advice. Chekhov maintains clinical objectivity when presenting triggers, the external events that spark change. He shows only what a camera would see, observable facts, no interpretation. But when the transformation actually happens, when the character's understanding shifts, he opens the door wide. He gives us direct, explicit access to the character's mind, full sentences of realized understanding, complete philosophical articulation. This isn't a violation of craft, it's precision. He knew when to stay outside, and he knew when to go in. Let me show you what I mean with 3 examples. First, The Student, written in 1894. Chekhov himself called this his favorite story. The setup: a young seminary student named Ivan tells 2 peasant women the biblical story of Peter denying Christ 3 times. As he tells it, one of the women starts to cry. Here's how Chekhov presents the trigger: pure external observation. Vasilisa suddenly sobbed, her face puckered up. Lucaria, the daughter, stared at Ivan, flushed, and her expression became strained and heavy, like someone who is holding back intense pain. That's it. Just what you'd see if you were standing there. Tears, a flushed face, a strained expression, no interpretation, no access to what anyone is thinking. Classic show don't tell, classic Chekhov. But then Ivan walks away, and Chekhov takes us directly into his mind. And joy suddenly stirred in his soul. He was thinking how the truth and beauty which had guided human life there in the garden and in the yard of the high priest had continued without a break to this day, and had evidently always been the chief thing in human life and in all earthly life, indeed. This is pure telling, direct access to consciousness, a fully formed philosophical revelation spelled out in complete sentences. And it's one of the most celebrated passages Chekhov ever wrote. Second example, Gooseberries, from 1898. The trigger: Ivan Ivanitch watches his brother eat homegrown gooseberries. Simple physical description. He went on eating and kept saying with a smug smile, "How delicious! They were hard and sour," but Nikolai Ivanitch saw nothing but the gooseberries. Just a man eating sour fruit and calling it delicious, observable, external, objective. But this mundane moment triggers a complete philosophical articulation. Chekhov gives us paragraph after paragraph of Ivan's explicit thoughts. Behind the door of every contented, happy man, there ought to be someone standing with a little hammer and continually reminding him with a knock that there are unhappy people. I am old and am not fit for strife. I only grieve inwardly. At night my head is hot from the rush of ideas and I cannot sleep. Chekhov doesn't hint at Ivan's revelation. He states it directly, at length, with full access to the character's racing thoughts. Third example, The Lady with the Dog, from 1899, probably his most famous story. The trigger: Gurov, who's fallen deeply in love, tries to share his experience with a friend, but the friend isn't interested. Gurov was on the point of telling him about the white hair and the gray eyes, but his friend had already finished his dinner and was lighting a cigar, saying, "The sturgeon was a bit off today." A simple contrast: internal urgency meets external triviality, all shown through dialogue and action. But this triggers Gurov's complete understanding of his dual existence, and Chekhov gives it to us explicitly. He had 2 lives, one open, seen and known by all, and another life running its course in secret, and by a strange concatenation of circumstances, everything that was important, interesting, and essential was hidden from other people, and all that was false in him was open. Again, direct, explicit access to the character's realized understanding. This isn't suggested, it's stated. So what's going on here? Was Chekhov a hypocrite? Did he break his own rules? No, he understood something more nuanced than show don't tell. Here's the pattern. Stay rigorously objective when presenting the catalyst, the physical moment that sparks change. The tears, the sour gooseberries, the comment about sturgeon. Show only what a camera would capture. But when the transformation occurs, explicit articulation can be the most honest approach. Think about it. If a character genuinely experiences a psychological shift, the most objective thing you can do is show exactly what's happening in their mind. Hiding it would be the distortion. Readers need to witness the actual mechanism of change, especially in integration fiction, where we're showing characters move from insight to action. If we need to see wisdom become practice, we must witness the precise moment when understanding crystallizes. The rule isn't never tell. The rule is know when each technique serves the story. This is why the Chekhov revelation matters so much for integration fiction. Integration stories don't just end with recognition. They show characters acting on their insights. And to make that believable, readers need to see the moment of crystallization, the moment when scattered understanding becomes clear. The moment when I sort of sense something becomes, I know what I need to do. If we hide that moment, if we stay outside the character's head at precisely the point when everything shifts, we rob readers of the story's most important beat. Chekhov knew this intuitively. At his transformation moments, he let us in. We can do the same, not as lazy writing, not as shortcut, but as psychological honesty at the moment it matters most. So the next time someone tells you to show don't tell at a moment of character transformation, remember, Chekhov himself would disagree. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let readers witness the exact moment when understanding dawns. Show the trigger, tell the transformation. In the next episode, we're asking a practical question. Who actually needs integration fiction? Who's the audience for this kind of story? The answer might surprise you. Thanks for listening. See you in episode 4.